Welcome to a place where hearts unwind, infinite threads that gently bind, love and compassion in every line. Together we rise through space and time.
Hey, welcome back to Infinite Threads. I'm your host, Bob. This week, we're letting love smile a little. Yesterday, we talked about the way love has a sense of humor. The laughter that breaks through the heaviness. The people who bring joy into a room without even making a big production of it. The silly little things that help us remember that we're still alive under all the worry. Today, I want to stay in that lighter place. I want to talk about the little joys that sneak in. Because joy doesn't always walk through the front door with a trumpet. Sometimes it slips in quietly while we're busy doing something else. You're driving along, not thinking about much, and a song comes on that takes you back to a good memory. Not a perfect memory, maybe, just a warm one. Suddenly, the day feels a little different. Or you see a dog in a car window looking like it has important business downtown. Or someone sends a message at exactly the right time, and it isn't even a profound message. It may just be a joke, a picture, or a few words that let you know that you crossed their mind. There it is, a little joy. Not enough to fix everything, but enough to brighten the next few steps. I think the love force works that way more often than we notice. We tend to look for love in the big moments, the dramatic rescue, the healing conversation, the deep spiritual breakthrough that makes everything clear. Those moments matter when they come. But love also seems to enjoy hiding tiny gifts in the middle of an ordinary day. Like the first sip of coffee when it's exactly right, or a child laughing in a store for no reason that anyone else understands. I love that sound. A breeze that arrives just when the air felt too heavy. The smell of rain. A memory of someone you love that makes you smile before it makes you sad. These little things don't announce themselves as holy, but they can still reach the heart. They remind us that life is not only a list of problems to solve. That's easy to forget. We wake up and the day already has demands. Something needs attention, something needs fixing, someone needs an answer. The world keeps handing us reasons to be tense, and before long we can start believing tension is simply the price of being awake. Then joy sneaks in like a mischievous little messenger. It doesn't ask whether the house is clean. It doesn't wait until our schedule clears. It just appears. A funny typo. Well, I made one of those recently. A bird doing something strangely dramatic on a fence post. A moment when the light hits the room in a way that makes everything look gentler than it did a minute ago. For a second, the soul gets to unclench, and that matters. A life of love needs those moments. Not because they make us less serious about pain or injustice or grief. They don't. We can care deeply about the wounded places of the world and still allow ourselves to be delighted by a ridiculous squirrel. In fact, maybe we need to. If we never let joy reach us, our compassion can become exhausted. We start running on duty alone. Duty has its place, but it can become awfully dry if it never meets delight. Joy gives the heart moisture again. It keeps tenderness from turning brittle. I don't mean forced cheerfulness either, That can feel like someone handing you a party hat in a hospital waiting room. Real joy is different. Real joy can be gentle. It can sit quietly beside sorrow without trying to shove it out of the chair. It can arrive as a tiny relief, a small reminder that the whole sky has not gone dark. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. Just one reminder, one small patch of light. A few seconds where the heaviness is not the only thing in the room. I think about how many of our favorite memories are built from things that seemed almost accidental at the time. The restaurant that wasn't the one that you meant to go to, but ended up being wonderful. The wrong turn that became a beautiful drive. I love those. The joke that got out of hand and kept coming back for years. I'm thinking of a few right now. The little phrase someone said once, and now everybody who was there remembers it as family history. I remember a number of those too. Love turns small moments, guys, into keepsakes. And that's one of its stranger talents. It takes something tiny and lets it glow in your memory. Years later, we may not remember what we were worried about that day. We may not remember the errand, the schedule, or the reason everyone was rushing. But we remember the laugh. We remember the song. We remember the person who was beside us. Maybe that's because joy gives love a way to mark the moment. It says, save this one. And the heart does. I wonder how many little joys that we miss because we're waiting for a larger one. We tell ourselves we'll feel better when the big thing works out, when the problem is solved, when the plan comes together, when life finally calms down and behaves itself for once. I understand that. Oh gosh, I understand that. I've waited on that version of life too many times. But life is not always polite enough to hand us joy in one complete package. Sometimes it gives us crumbs. And I don't mean that in a sad way. Crumbs can be enough to follow. A little laugh here, a kind word there, a moment of beauty that we almost walked past. Maybe the love force leaves those crumbs along the road so that we'll keep finding our way back to hope. Not hope as a big speech, but hope as a trail. That's a good way of looking at it. One small sign after another. The world is hard, guys. Yes, I know it. But this flower still bloomed in the crack. This friend still remembered. This music still moved something in you. This morning still had a little gold in it. And that kind of hope is not loud. It may be stronger because it isn't loud, to be honest. It doesn't try to overpower the pain. It simply refuses to let pain have every inch of the day. There's grace in that. The little joys that sneak in can teach us to become more awake, not suspiciously optimistic and not pretending everything is lovely when it isn't. Just awake enough to notice when something good passes by. Again, that goes back to us taking that moment to notice. And when we notice, we can share it. And that's part of the fun. A joke gets better when someone else laughs. A beautiful sky becomes sweeter when we point it out. A silly video, a strange little story, a happy memory, a picture of a pet, a picture of a pet looking guilty when it absolutely is guilty. These are the small offerings, but they carry a little warmth from one life to another. And that's not nothing. A person may be having a rough day, and your small shared joy may be the only easy smile they get for a while. We never really know. That's why I like the idea of letting joy move through us, too. Not just receiving it, but passing it along. Not in a forced way. Nobody wants to be aggressively cheered up. But we can leave little openings for delight. We can be less embarrassed by the wholesome, goofy, tender things that make us smile. The world doesn't need us to become more ashamed of joy. It needs people who can still recognize it. People who can still laugh kindly. People who can still say, "Look at that," when something beautiful appears. People who can still send the ridiculous picture because someone might need it. That's why I do some of those videos that I do. Maybe that's part of the love force too. In fact, I think it is. Love does not only heal by carrying wounds. Sometimes it heals by reminding us that life can still be playful. There is still music. There is still absurdity. There is still the strange gift of being here in a world where coffee exists, dogs tilt their heads, children invent nonsense, and the sky occasionally shows off like it wants applause. Maybe we should applaud it now and then. Not literally. Well, maybe literally, if nobody's around anyway. I'm kidding. Do it with everyone around. Remember the song, sing a song. Sing out loud. Sing out strong. The point is, joy deserves a little room. It deserves to be noticed before it slips away. So today, maybe we can keep an eye out for the little joys, the ones that sneak in, the ones that don't seem important until the heart suddenly feels lighter, the ones that make us grin for no practical reason. Let them do their work. Let them remind you that love is not only serious, it's playful too. It leaves little surprises along the way, and sometimes the kindest thing we can do is pick them up and pass them on. Thank you, guys. Thank you for spending this time with me on Infinite Threads. May a little joy find you today before you're ready for it. May it sneak past your worries and sit down beside you. And may the love force keep leaving small delights in your path. Just enough to remind you that life is still allowed to be wonderful. I love you guys very, very much. And you know what I need you to do. Go out and pass that on, okay? Later, Gators. Bye-bye.
Fears